and my best friend and I would like close our eyes and try to have psychic visions. We were trying to read each other from across the daycare.
Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to the new Being Hypnosis channel and the Quantum Credo Corner interview series. Today, I'm welcoming Emily McArthur. She's a psychic on her psychic journey, and we've done some actually psychic work together. I've helped her with some land clearing and healing. She can better see and hear the ghosts and spirits. She's in Virginia, but the ghosts and spirits of deceased miners and other individuals in the area, and so I can remote view them in a way, or remote locate, I call it, I suppose, and get a sense of the area. It's kind of a remote sense, and then psychically bring in and send my Reiki and healing energy. And so anyway, here is Emily McArthur, and she is starting a company for psychic ghost tours near Gayton, Virginia.
My company is River City Haunted. We seek to elevate the ghost tour experience in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm looking to do not the typical ghost tours. We're looking to do events, live shows, all kinds of stuff. I like to use the term ghost experience rather than ghost tour.
What entails a ghost experience? Could you tell me more about that?
Ghost of Gayton is a live show telling the true haunted history of the Gayton area of Virginia. It is a suburban area of Richmond that is extremely haunted and has a long history of labor abuse in coal mines. And they were exonerated of charges that they shouldn't have been. They managed to get away with murder multiple times before being shut down. And I feel that this contributes to the extreme activity in the area. So that's what Ghost of Gayton is about. And then my upcoming presentation is on Belle Isle, which is a place in Richmond, Virginia that was a prison during the Civil War. It was a Confederate prison for Union soldiers, with thousands of these prisoners living outside at all times of the year. So you had people starving and freezing to death. You had people losing their minds from severe trauma. The things that happened there were very extreme and terrible. And yeah, it's a story that's not really told. We in Richmond only hear part of the true story of Belle Isle. Belle Isle is actually a beautiful park now. A lot of people go swimming at the river in the summer, and you wouldn't know that from looking at it, that it has such a dark history.
I know that you've done a lot of historical research of documents of names. I even came up with, or recall it, a couple of specific names that seem to have correlated with historical documents. So perhaps we can talk more about your journey in this, and let's talk about how you got into this and some of your earlier psychic experiences, and then we can talk about the historical documentation too of what you found.
Okay, well, I've been doing history and genealogy research for like 15 to 20 years. It's just been my thing. I've done my family tree to the 1600s and my best friend's tree to the 1600s. And it's just something I've always loved to do. And I'm neurodivergent. And if you know anything about neurodivergent people, we tend to have a special interest that is a quality many of us have, which is like a hyper-focused area of our lives that we put a lot of our energy into. I don't know why history is my special interest, but it always has been. I heard about the Gayton mines in so Henrico County, which is where I live, Henrico County, Virginia. They have a public access channel on television. It's channel 37 here in Henrico, and they do produce these documentaries about history in Henrico, and they actually did a documentary on Henrico mining where they briefly touched on Gayton. And just mentioning the Gayton mines were there, where they were located and things, and I dug into it and found that it has a really horrifying story. As far as psychic ability, oh, I've been interested in weird stuff since I was a little kid. I very remember being in daycare when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and my best friend and I would like close our eyes and try to have psychic visions. We were trying to read each other from across the daycare. Um, and this was always like we formed like a little psychic club, and like oh, it's always something I was really interested in. My dad had a Ouija board that was passed down through his family. I think it was his when he was a kid, and I was playing with that when I was like 12. I don't really, my opinion of Ouija boards is they're just another communication tool. But at the time, I really didn't know anything about it, and I just played with it like teenage girls play with Ouija boards, like asking it what boys you will kiss and things like that. And I believe I had my first medium experience when I was in Salem, Massachusetts, on vacation with my family. I've not been there as an adult, so I would love to go back as an adult and see what I can experience. I remember being in Salem outside of like the Witch Museum, and I could feel the energy of this whole place, and it felt like there was someone that knew something horrible about you, and they were going to use it against you. And I didn't understand. It felt like extreme paranoia and extreme fear. And I realize now that he's probably connecting with the energy of the witch trials, because that would have been what it was like for people then. It was probably about 10 years ago that I realized I could feel spirits near me, like I could tell when one was nearby, and I could tell where it was, like in relation to me. I said it's standing next to me, it's over there, but I couldn't really tell much more information about it. And I had my first like actual experience that really freaked me out, that I didn't really know anything about it, was at Chimborazo Park. Again, being from Richmond, there's a ton of Civil War history. A lot of the tourism here is for people, Civil War buffs. Chimborazo Park was a giant open air hospital during the Civil War. Many deaths from surgeries, infections, where people were taken off the battlefields and treated in this open air hospital. I was there on Halloween night, like ghost hunting or whatever, with this guy that I knew, and I got this sense of like, do you have a friend named Helen? And I was speaking out loud, and I was so freaked out because I didn't know where it came from. I didn't know what that meant. I would say I've been on a spiritual journey for like 3 years now, where I've awakened fully to being a medium. I'm also psychic, and I can connect with people's energy. And I also do object reading, psychometry, which is like all these things I realized I could do totally like naturally. I did not have any like psychic teachers or anything like that. It's just something that sort of came to me. The talking to Troy has helped me explore a lot of that.
Thank you, Emily. When did you get into historical document research and like finding the identities of some of the spirits you were in communication with, and researching the coal mines?
So that a lot of the documentation can be found. There's various sources. I live in Richmond, the capital city, so we have three state archives here in town. So I go there a lot and look up records. Um, I believe the name you were referencing was named Jacob Lambert, and I was searching for documentations of people with that name in county records of this specific area. And there was a person referenced in the county records in that specific area named Jacob Lambert, which I thought was really crazy. Probably from the 1700s, so this would have been before the Gaten mines. Yeah, it's in old books, in old texts, old newspapers. When you get into sources in like history, there's so many different things. Basically, when you're talking about documented history, a documented event, you're talking about from a book, a newspaper, a solid source. It doesn't have to be like a real like hardcore scientific source, but if it's written down somewhere over many years, that could be classified as a source.
Yeah, I just want to say that I do remember Jacob Lambert. I actually forgot what his name was, but I do remember him. I did in one of my psychic readings for the haunted land in Virginia, there's a lot of it there. But I you asked me about a specific name if I have one, and that was one that came through. He seemed to want to be known. He was, I recall, the manager of one of the mine sites where a lot of African American slaves were being, I suppose, illegally or very wrongfully employed and abused, and they were often dying, and their deaths were, I suppose, undocumented. But yeah, I remember Jacob because he died in kind of a unique way. One of the logs, or some of the logs from one of the logging trucks, just happened to come unsecured and roll onto him, crushing him. He was confused, and I could feel that. He was confused about what happened in his death, and so I helped him, I suppose, cross over or move on because he actually requested that. So Emily, I want to also ask how I know you were in the live music industry. How has that career played into you starting the River City ghost tours or experiences, and does that have a tie over?
Yeah, so I'm just letting you know this is a traumatic subject for me to discuss, but I was in the live music industry when COVID hit. So yeah, my venue closed, everything shut down. Was a terrible to witness my entire industry fall apart online, and people suffer so much, and um it's devastating for me to think about still. I was in a job where my managers didn't, this was the venue I was working at when the thing closed. I will say that the time I was working in the music industry, I was just very focused on getting the next gig, just very focused on achievement and wanting to get to the next step. It's so hard to get jobs. Another thing that happened to me during the pandemic, so I was working in festivals as well as venues, and my goal with festivals was to go for festival site operations. That was like my dream goal. Festival site operations would be the crew that does all the fencing, bathrooms, site layout, that kind of thing. I got offered my dream job in festival operations right before the COVID shutdown, and I was notified of the cancellation from the hiring department. So that was really hard. I was in a job where I wasn't respected by my management. I was not seen for my full potential. It was really hard. This job was really just mentally crushing me. This whole career, really, the whole path of just trying to get ahead, feeling like I was failing and not, it really did bad things to my mental health. I didn't realize until I was out of it how much happier I was not being in that career, how much happier I was not feeling like my whole life is devoted to my career. Once I was out of that mindset, I was able to like live as a normal person. And I had, it's something I awakened to after like 10 years. So it's really hard. And I decided that I didn't want to go back to that industry. Initially, I was planning to go back in as a COVID safety consultant for tours, but I didn't really have a lot of contacts with like booking agents and that kind of thing. Ghost tours was a really natural thing for me because I love the paranormal. I love ghost stories. I love haunted stuff. It seemed really natural for me to want to start a ghost tour business. And I am someone who thinks outside of the box. So I don't want to do what all the other ghost tours are doing. And I will tell you that all the ghost tours in Richmond do the same locations. And they're all the same stories that people have heard a million times in all the haunted Richmond books. My goal is to not do those locations. We want to do different ones. There's so much haunted history that hasn't been explored. I think this is just another avenue for my passions. And when I tell this story of what happened to me, I like to say that I had to lose everything to gain everything.
I would say that it sounds like the ghost tour industry is probably up your alley, and it sounds like you've been preparing for this maybe a lot of your life. So I'm glad that you're starting that. What else can you say about your business so far and how it's going and what you do?
It's going great. I'm actually speaking on Haunted Belle Isle on March 24th. I've got two more Ghost of Gaten shows coming up, and I'm actually working on pitching a historic house here in Richmond that has never had ghost tours there. They do have regular ghost tours. I mean, I'm sorry, they do have regular tours of this historic house. I went on one. They told me it was haunted. There's apparently, I know that one of the ghost tours in Richmond does that specific block. They have a haunted tour of that specific area. This is the area at MCV here in Richmond, the Medical College of Virginia, which is a med school hospital. It also happens to be in a very haunted area of town.
I'm just curious about that hospital now that you bring it up. Is that haunted or is that in a haunted area?
Oh yeah,
Is that
so
it?
one of the really horrifying stories about MCV, and I don't know if it's, I've never heard of this being related to paranormal activity, but I guess it is possible. This is a well-known story. I went to a presentation on it, being a history enthusiast, that during the 1800s, the Medical College of Virginia was kidnapping enslaved people, and digging up their graves to experiment on their corpses through the medical school and then throwing them down a well. This has been well documented. The remains are currently in the Smithsonian. Are working towards establishing a permanent memorial at MCV. So these remains were discovered in like 1993 during a construction of a building down there. So that's one of the really horrible stories. You also have MCV being right up on the slave burial ground for Richmond, which was just where they threw people in trenches, threw the enslaved people in trenches. But again, Richmond has a very dark and bloody history. For those who haven't been to Richmond or experienced this, uh, it's not pretty. So, but yes, MCV is apparently a real haunted place. I've heard the story from someone I know who does ghost tours. I think it's also in one of the Haunted Richmond books that has been written. There's a story that they had to stop construction over there of the African burial ground is right next to the parking decks and part of the MCV hospital, on over the on ramp to I-95. I heard they had to stop construction over there because people were getting attacked. Construction workers were getting scratched in there. So if you go over to that burial ground now, it's like a park, a memorial park. It's very creepy down there, especially at night. It's got very bad vibes. I'm not a fan. So
I can imagine. Yeah, it sounds like a major concentration of basically a burial death site. Um,
I've heard that Richmond is one of the most haunted cities in the South.
yeah, it sounds like it. Where can people reach you and your company? And how can people get in touch with the ghost tour company you're setting up?
So
You're
we don't
running.
have a website or anything. It's very new. I'm working on all this. You can contact me on my Facebook, Emily McArthur. You can also email ghostofgaten@gmail.com. We're working on various things.
What would you be open to if people want to contact you for contributing to and setting up your business?
If you are in the Richmond area and you live in a haunted place, please give me a call. If you are in, right now we're just looking to do Richmond, but I'm open. I'm also open to hearing from other business owners, especially if you're in a paranormal, spiritual, haunted ghost tour business. Love to hear from you. We're looking to do more locations in the city. Definitely, one thing I'm working on. So right now I do the Gaten mines, but the main mining area in Richmond was in Midlothian. So I am looking to do a haunted Midlothian mines at some point. There's actually a park down there just for the mines. So hopefully doing ghost tours of the mine park at some point.
Very good. Do you have any other ideas, any last messages you want to share before we end?
Um, I hope everyone is doing well. Wish you well in your spiritual journey.
Thank you, Emily. And I thank you for your time. This has been quite an interview, and I wish you luck too, and wish very good developments with the ghost tour business. Well, that was quite an interesting and fascinating interview with Emily. She's a fascinating person. There's a lot of fascinating, but also very dark history when you learn the truth of it. In that area of Virginia around Richmond. Also, I've done readings for that area in Tuckahoe, which is more of a forested area where there was slave mines and plantations. Yeah, quite a heavily haunted area around there. Um, I hope to do some more psychic readings and land healings for that area soon too. And I'll be sure to have all of her information as she's provided it for people to reach out to her. Perhaps if you have a ghost tour or paranormal business contact that may be able to assist her in her business growth or anything else, or if you're just interested in some of the ghost tours, he's actually very knowledgeable about the ghost tours happening in that area in Richmond and Virginia. Thank you everyone for participating. Again, my name is Troy J. Bacon. I'm a certified and Department of Health licensed hypnotherapist in Washington State. And I do all my sessions remotely. I specialize in tinnitus and trauma healing, but I do a lot of other things, behavior modification, fear and phobia management. And my website is newbeinghypnosis.com if anybody wishes to work with me or inquire about anything. I'm also running a meetup group, and that meetup group is called Hypnosis and Reiki Networking Community. You can find it on meetup.com. And I do free interactive informational talks on Sundays, as well as on Tuesdays, I'm offering the New Being Soul Spa, in which I do integrative Qigong and energy healing. Yeah, it's going to be a good refresher for your energy of the week, for the week. And if you have a bunch of things on your mind, it's on Tuesdays at noon Pacific Standard Time. And I'm excited to be doing that and will be happening every Tuesday. Thank you all for viewing, and I wish to see you in my meetup group. It's both on meetup.com and Facebook by the same name as Hypnosis and Reiki Networking Community. It's a networking community for hypnosis and Reiki healing practitioners for us to get to know each other and share about our practices and about ourselves and mingle, as well as those who are not certified or in practice, to just come and meet us, talk with us, learn from us. Also connect with us if you really desire healing for any reason and inquire about what each of us offers. I wish you peace. Bye for now.